You must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Phoenix Rising Radio. Now is the time to lift your mind higher. Now is the time to rise above. I am your host, Phoenix, and welcome to tonight's broadcast. Good evening and welcome, everyone. This is Phoenix. It is December 28th, 2017. This will be the last program of Phoenix Rising Radio right here on TFR for this year. We will not be joining you again until 2018. And it's also the fourth day of Christmas. The fourth day of Christmas. I hope your holiday is going well. If you're celebrating Christmas, I hope you're still enjoying it. Because if you listen on Tuesday night, I'm trying to revive the 12 days of Christmas, which begin on December 25th, and this is the fourth day. Anyway, on this fourth day of Christmas, we have people snowed in. It's very cold. A lot going on all over the United States and the world. Joining us tonight, which is a rarity because he usually joins us one night a week, is NeSe. NeSe, how's it going, brother?
Bonjour, Anin, NeSe Indigenikas Ojibwem, Kevin, Richard Shores, Indigenikas Jaganashi Mug, Makwa Nindundame, Gawababigani Kog, and Dunjiba, Minowa Moorhead, Minnesota, Nungum Nde, Chimigwich, Phoenix, and all of you for being Oma here with us. And last show of the year. Thank you, Chimigwich Phoenix, for giving me the opportunity to be with you in 2017. What an odd year.
Oh, man, you know it. You know, we're going to talk about the year a little bit, what's going on now. It's kind of this quiet, odd time. People who've been following QAnon, Q has not put anything out since December 25th. It was the last post that he did, kind of an operational thing, and people say it is ongoing. All kinds of speculation and rumors about things going on. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, it's been a heck of a year. Oh, for everyone, just a heads up, Laura Walker of the Oracle Report, if you have not saw it, she put out a video, and you can find it on her YouTube channel, over to Oracle Report, or Andrew Foss's YouTube channel also. And it's an update. It's just Laura, not with Andrew, but she's talking about the energetics right now. And I basically think I know she targeted it in between December 25th and January 15th. And there's a lot of stuff happening. You know, we've talked about this, NeSe, the changes, the energetic changes that are coming up. And, you know, I've talked about some of the astrology of all this. And it's really going to start taking off in January 2nd forward. It's like huge. I mean, actually on the first too, with the full moon, a lot of energy. And thank God, man, dude, this has been a hard year for me. I know for you, for a lot of people, a lot of our listeners. And, that's the thing. That's the comfort in like having community that you can talk to and other people. You realize sometimes when things aren't quite going right, it's not just you, man. I mean, collectively, things have been tough for a lot of people. It's been a really, really hard, energetic, harder for some than others. And man, I got to tell you, the past 2.5 years for me, dude, it's been like hell. It's been some of the hardest, most challenging times of my life. I mean, just you name it, it came in my direction. It's been tough, man. And so I'm very happy to be seeing this time go and moving into these new energies. I'm very happy and very welcome for this.
Well, it is definitely beneficial to all when you do take the opportunity to be in sync and to be highly aware of the cycles that are occurring on the minuscule and on the, well, as above, so below, the microcosm, the macrocosm. And being in sync with those or being aware with those always makes it a little bit easier when you're riding the wave of the tick-tock clock.
That's true. It's the astro weather, and some people who really aren't, some people are like, man, that's just like nonsense. You don't need to follow all that. Well, I'll tell you, I have learned in life school, and I was just talking to Lake about this the other day. Of like, man, going back, looking at things that I was in anticipation for, looking for changes to happen or different things, what I've learned now by the observation of astrology and God's clock in the sky. If I were to look back and objectively look at everything, if I would have applied this astrological knowledge that I had, I would have known that certain things had a low degree of probability happening at one time or a higher degree at another time, good and bad. And that's what it is. It's like a street sign. If you're just flying down the road, astrological markers in the sky of astrology are like the caution signs we see, like curve ahead, or you'll see like reduce speed, or downgrade or whatever, a bump in the road. Things
slow
like
children.
Slow children, exactly. Whatever. And whenever you observe those, you can drive safely. You can adjust. And it doesn't happen right there. A lot of people say like, hey, man, that was a sign in the sky and there was nothing there. Yeah, like, duh, no kidding. You'll see a sign sometimes, it'll be like, caution, deer area. It doesn't mean that where the sign shows a little deer jumping, that's where they're at. Just like be on the lookout. And, if you observe the road signs, you're a safer driver and you're less likely to have an accident or harm yourself for others. And it's the same. If you learn to watch these astrological signs, you can navigate better, safer, and get to your destination sure. So anyway, I was talking about Laura Walker, the Oracle Report. She actually, and I was thinking about this morning, she references in this new report the April 18th, 2015 timeframe. When she told everything, it was the beginning of the new Renaissance that would run up into 2020, I believe it was, and that things were going to change. And she said that the archonic powers, the demonic powers of the cabal are going to be being taken down. And they have seen the run of their power and they're going to fight it, but they're going to be taken down. And by 2020, they'll be defeated. Now, the interesting thing is, NeSe, back in April of 2015, the powers that be were fully entrenched. There was no talk about draining the swamp. There was no talk about people being arrested. There were no stadiums of 20,000 people chanting, lock her up, lock her up. That stuff was like non-existent. So that again is just the fact that she would tag that and say, this is the energetic we're entering into and this is what we're going to see. And she publicly came out and said that based upon the astrological data months and years before anyone could see how that could possibly work out. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. It was an interesting observation that I had made. But anyway, we're seeing these changes. This has been a big year of changes. We're going to see more. And a lot of karma and justice that's been built up is really going to pop, man. From everything I can see and everything I'm hearing and my observations, NeSe, I think January is going to really, really be kind of crazy. And things are really going to start ramping up. And we're going to see some crazy stuff in the news, man. I really do.
Well, in my observation of things, depending on where the perspective is focused, you're going to find the highs and you're going to find the lows. And it is going to be dependent on what the media is going to wag in front of us, because it's the old bait and switch, or bait and click now, I guess they're calling it in the social media realms of it. But the biggest key, as we've discussed before, is how do we maintain a positive attitude as we go through these shifts and changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up because it's so vital, because where all that starts and happens is right in your heart. I talk about, I did a book a few years ago called Have a Plan to Act. And I was talking about basically analyzing your situation and your threat, and what your situation is, and what your biggest threat potentially is, because it's different for everybody. Everybody's environment is different. Everybody's social situation is different, financial situation, whatever. But I was teaching people in the book how to do this. You start at yourself and you start working your way out in concentric circles. And starting at yourself, you need to do a threat analysis of yourself, because we can be our biggest threat. We can be our biggest enemies, man. And I talked to everyone, explained to everyone about how important it is, number one, our physical well-being, the best that we can be, that we can possibly be, no matter what state we may be in, the best health that we can be in, and also the best mental health and positive attitude. And you hear me say all the time, say no to fear. And it's controlling of our own mind. And positive attitude is our greatest weapon. You build everything off of that. That's your warrior stance. Mr. or Mrs. Warrior, that is your stance. Your heart, your core, your inner being is the basis and the foundation for everything that you will do and all the great things that you will achieve. And so one of the ways that we can best navigate that is just stay positive and not allow ourselves to fall into negative thought. Because, man, I tell you what, that's where the first battle and usually the last battle starts and ends, right in our mind.
Well, the cliches have it with attitude is everything. And, every individual is absolutely that, an individual. So what may work for someone may not work for another. However, if you're not even looking for the answer to find a better attitude, then that to me breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I don't like to be proclaimed as a human being. I like to, if I'm being labeled at all, I would rather call myself a humane being, because of course, by the definition or the denotation of the word human, hue of man, human, and I would rather not be of man, because we know where that has gotten us. But to be in this state of humane being then we're actually relabeling ourselves, and just the simple act of relabeling ourselves can be that 0 point to start at, to where you take your assessment of, where do I need the triage? What is my biggest hindrance right now that is keeping me from being that positive individual or working down that positive path?
True. And that task that you just talked about, that ties in, you're talking about the definition. Number one, whenever I was talking about threat assessment, and you do these concentric circles and you go out and, you're looking at your situation, your environment, your economics, whatever. Again, you begin it yourself, but right there, I said you begin it yourself. And what you were saying and what I'm saying is that we must define who we are. And that's a big question. Do you really know who you are? And to search and try to figure it out in the ether and look to others and look to family members, younger or older, and try to define yourself through that is externalizing the process. How this works is you and you alone must declare who you are. That's the beginning of it. That's the striking of that fire. That is the lighting of that flame in your heart, is the ignition of that spark saying, I am, and then you fill in the rest. And you can say it with your name, and I am, and give your name, and then proclaim what you are. I am healthy. I am strong. I am positive, and define exactly who you are and what you will be, and declare it in your heart, and let it be a secret thing unto you. Don't put it on a t-shirt. Don't hang it on a sign. I mean, you could hang it on the sign if you want to remind yourself of it. But it's a personal thing, and your definition of who you are and who you want to be. And that's where it all begins. And that's where our strength comes from, that we can deal with these things and better deal with whatever January and 2018 and 2019 and 2020 will bring our way, is by first defining who we are and always keeping that vision. Now, we can change that. It's not a solid thing. You can redefine and make yourself better. You can imagine yourself to be a certain way, but that's where it comes. It comes in the spark of the imagination within your heart, the vision in your heart of who you want to be and how you want to be. You want to be healthy? See yourself as healthy. Do you want to see yourself as wealthy? Then see yourself as wealthy. Don't concentrate. If you need funds, don't concentrate on, oh, woe is me, I need funds. Concentrate on, yes, I have all my needs that I need, and feel it. You have to feel it. Don't imagine, don't project like you see yourself in a movie. Feel it and be it. And I think that's where we begin this entire process. Well, no, I take that back. I know that's where we begin this entire process, is by defining within your heart exactly who you are and what you will be. Now, you just can't do that one time. This is something you got to remind yourself of. And that's where prayers, meditation, that comes in. And this is an important thing, NeSe. And people got away from this too much. Again, I don't know why I'm referring back to that book. I talked about people disconnecting and how important it is every day for people to disconnect, to meditate, to try to do it in a natural space, but if not, just in a quiet space, you and you alone, in quiet, undisturbed, so you can visualize, so you can pray, so you can reconnect and reconfirm within your heart who you are. And from there, from that point, that's where we take those steps out into great works and into a great and wonderful life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and this is what the topic that I wanted to discuss tonight, because we're in this cycle, the crazy that I always refer to, the cycles of the psychos, of the powers that should not be. And in these grander cycles and in these smaller cycles that we find ourselves in, as we were talking about on Tuesday's night show, that I've been obsessing about in the last 48 hours about the lunar calendar in 28 days.
Let me interject here.
But
He calls me yesterday. He's like, "Oh man, he's so freaked out. I'm pulling the calendar out. I got my paper EMP proof calendar with all my new moons and full moons marked on it and the times. And we're going through this. We had to confirm exactly every full moon, every new moon for the entire year. So yeah, when he says he's been going over this, he's been going over this. I'll guarantee.
well, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense, because even if you go into it, you look up the definition of a lunar calendar. How many days in a lunar month calendar? It says 28 days. And yet, if you go back in the calendars, you'll see anywhere between 29 and 30 days between these points of the new moon or the full moon. But before, let's try to curtail that one, because I'm going to do some more research on that.
Just for reference for everyone, we spoke about this the other night. January has 2 full moons, and does March. February has no full moons. Of course, February is only 28 days. But January 1st and January 31st is a full moon. No full moon at all in February, but March 1st is a full moon, as is March 31st. So there's 2 blue moons. A blue moon is the occurrence of a full moon twice in any calendar month. So we have 2 blue moons, one in December and one in March this year. Okay, so enough with the moons. Let's go on to the other stuff.
You hear the helicopters right now?
No.
Literally, there's a helicopter going over my house right now. It must be the Sanford emergency helicopter.
They're going to be fast roping down on top of your house. Get him. Go, go, go.
Right. But but anyway, the cycles that are occurring are happening, and we take the opportunity to recognize those cycles, and they will help us adjust ourselves, or fine-tune ourselves, or find that attitude to help us go through those challenges, whether that challenge is a continuous cycle that occurs in your world. But now that we're ending this calendar cycle of the year, most commonly an occurrence that we all go through is, what is my New Year resolution? And so that's a little bit of what I want to discuss earlier. And I strongly suggest you get a pen and a piece of paper, and may I be able to pull out some really good tips that can help you have a better attitude than sometimes you may have when you're going through those really challenging times. Because we all have something to teach each other. And with the things, as Phoenix has told you, my world's a little tough, but I like to think that my attitude going through this existence is pretty healthy.
I concur with that, and I agree. And you know what? It's inspiration, and it should be an inspiration to a lot of people, seriously. And again, it is an inspiration, and you do have a good attitude.
And may I add real quick, thank you for the emails. I appreciate that, and for kind words and support. So I do feel that I'm fulfilling my obligation with Phoenix and giving you guys something interesting to listen to, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of that. So thank you all.
Cool. Yeah. We got like 2 minutes rolling up on a break here. A lot of crazy stuff going on. New Year's Eve coming up, extreme cold temperatures all over North America here. Our listeners down in South America getting kind of warm down there, but Yeah, crazy cold here, and a lot of speculation, they say, of the cyclical um, time of like a mini ice age, and this has to go in with the super cycle of the sun cycle too. Oh man, I gotta get that guy on as a guest. I keep forgetting. It's a guy who used to work for NASA, and he talked about this, and he said he's been saying for a couple of years we're going into this cycle. Happens every, I forget, like 230 years or something like that, and we're going into it now, and I can see it, man. The rivers around here are frozen. Had a little bit of loose flow today as I went over one bridge, but one of the primary river near our town is frozen. Most creeks are frozen. And a lot of times here in the Northeast, many seasons go by and they don't get a hard freeze on the ice. And it looks like we're going to get it now. So things are changing, and it is cyclical. These are cycles we go through. We're a young race. We really are. And we've only been keeping history for a short amount of time compared to the length of the civilizations that have come and gone. So anyway,
well, I guess it would depend on which civilization that is. But some people have kept better records of history than others.
Oh, that's true. But see, even going back, like even to the most earliest records of the Sumner and Sumerians, man, there was a long, many millennia that went by, and all those records are just wiped out. Doesn't mean they didn't keep records. Those records are nowhere to be found right now. That's a show in itself. But anyway, we're going to talk a lot about all of this stuff as we come back. Don't go away. And like NeSe said, take some.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TNR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Here we are again on the Phoenix Rising radio show. I am NeSe, a co-host with Phoenix, and thank you so much, as I've stated before, of allowing me the platform to share my thoughts and my opinions, and I hope that I'm able to assist anybody out there to make better choices or find positiveness in order to go through the challenges that you go through, because sometimes you need to drain the swamp. You need to get rid of the toxic people in your world. And don't ever be afraid to judge somebody's actions. Don't judge the individual, but judge their actions, because we all know what is positive and negative. And if somebody's actions are consistently negative, then it's probably a good thing to have them out of your life, because sometimes those negative decisions can drag you down or affect your universe also.
100% true, man. I actually had that conversation with somebody a while ago. Few weeks ago, and I'm always positive. I take that. No one's always positive. I attempt to be as positive as possible all the time. Occasionally a doubt will enter my mind, and I'll have to take control over that and say, oh no to that fear, boom, and get rid of it. And it's not just saying no to fears and getting rid of them. You have to replace them with something positive. Just turn the thing around in your mind. Now, someone was talking to me who always brought up the negative side of things. Oh, well, but this, and oh, this, and it was all based upon fear and doubts, and it wasn't real. And I've very low tolerance for that. People encounter this, and you try to encourage them, but sometimes you'll run into individuals who are excessively negative, about things, see things in a negative way. And, I talked to him about being positive and why I am so positive. I was in the military, and the things I did in the military were extremely dangerous things that require a large amount, a monumental amount of belief in yourself to do these things, dangerous things, and things that are so dangerous, if you do them wrong, you could potentially kill yourself. And not only could you potentially kill yourself, you could kill those around you. And so being in like a tight-knit unit where you do extremely dangerous things, you do the impossible, there's zero tolerance for someone who has a negative attitude. They can't be there. They never make it. And to be quite frank, you never get into a high-speed, low-drag military setting with a team, and anyone on that team is negative. They just don't get there. You never make it that far. I mean, they are gone, and they can't be there, because if you have anybody around you who thinks they can't do something, they could potentially be the death of you and the mission and destroy the mission, because you have to get in. And I know this is an extreme, and a lot of people will never in their lives, encounter situations where you need this degree of faith to do something. But, sometimes it's the small things you need faith for. And this skill and this mindset is important. I don't care if you're a nurse, if you're a home care nurse, if you're a carpenter, a plumber, an accountant, a lawyer, you have to be able to believe in yourself and not have doubts. Because I tell you what, to do the impossible, you have to believe you can do the impossible. If you doubt that you can't do it, and I mean just a small doubt, Christ talked about if you have the faith of a mustard seed, which is real small, that's an itty bitty small seed, just a little bit. If you have that much true faith, you can move a mountain. But I will tell you the converse of that. If you have a small amount, like a mustard seed, itty bitty bit of doubt, and you allow that doubt in you, you will fail. Because just like that small seed of faith can grow into a strong and mighty plant, that small seed of doubt and fear and negative attitude can also grow into a mighty weed. And I tell you what, man, weeds can crack concrete. Weeds can damage foundations. I mean, if you allow something to grow and grow and grow, no matter how small it is, if it's not something good like a weed, it'll choke out a garden and take all the fruit and the good stuff from you. So that's why it's so important to have a positive attitude. Man, you got to have control of this, people. We have to do this. We all do. You've got to control your mind and your thoughts and your fears.
And there are, unfortunately, some weeds that are very beneficial to have. So depending on the clarification on that specific weed,
you always got to throw that in there. Every program, like, how's it going? Oh, it's rolling along. Okay. Just, but yeah, I know what you're saying. There are, what's clarified as a weed by some is a very beneficial thing, and we know this. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As we were just talking about draining the swamp, but yeah. But I apologize for the interruptions in the background. Somebody was informed I'm doing a radio show, and they were told not to come during such time, and yeah. So,
do you need to go into the door, dude?
Yeah, it's quite all right.
Oh no, go
But
ahead. It's okay. If you need to go answer the door, it's fine, man. I'll take it. Just come back in.
okay,
Give me a shout out. Yeah.
give me a.
All righty. NeSe's going to the door. Yeah, how's that for live radio? And that's how that rolls. Again, I want to thank everyone. Like I was saying at the beginning of this program, man, what a time. This has been tough for a lot of people. And tough times like this, tough times for people, it requires us to reach down inside of us and say, we can get through this. And you may not have someone encouraging you. And like NeSe was saying, it's best to eliminate negative influence in your life. If you're surrounded by people who are always dragging you down and telling you, being positive is silly. And you'll actually run into people like that will actually try to dissuade you from being positive, dissuade you from having faith, and to basically tell you that you are silly for thinking that you can change things. Now, why do people do that? I'm not going to get into that and the psychology of that, because everybody's different. And that's something that they have to deal with. You can't become angry with people like that, but what you can do is control your interaction with people like that. And that's what's important. To limit the amount of interaction that you have with someone that's bringing you down. Reminds me of the old Electric Light Orchestra song, "Don't Bring Me Down." You remember that song?
Yellow, absolutely. But again, I apologize. Please forgive me. It just is what it is, and hopefully by the end of the middle of summer, I'm going to be having my own little soundproof studio, which is one of the things that are in the works for NeSe. But sometimes,
dude, I think hold on before we get into our topic more. I think you should do a soundproof sweat lodge studio, and like during the shows, you could do sweats. What do you think?
That's an interesting concept, because we have talked about portable sweats and figuring out how to make sweats, because it is a process to make sweats. But I've been in discussions with some of the elders, and it's like, well, aren't we supposed to utilize everything around us, and technologically in the advancements of graphite poles and stuff, that we could basically make little portable sweat structures, and then it would be more opportunity to have sweat lodges for more people, because that's the biggest challenge, is building the lodge and getting people to help support and do the lodge. So
hey man, up here, and I know you've got them out there too. They're everywhere in North America. You have these pull behind barbecue pits, where guys do like a pig roast or they do a fish fry. Depends on culturally where you're at. They roast chickens or barbecue, and they pull them behind trucks, and they're like these big long barrel type things. You flip them open, and then they do the smoking, and it's like an event type thing. You guys could do one of those. You could like invent a trailer that's these little trailer units with sweat lodges on them, and you have like maybe the whole fire pit and everything built inside, and you can like drive these around to different places and park them, and you could rent a sweat and just like and drop it off, like one of those pod units, but it'd be a rent a sweat lodge. How about
right.
that?
Well, the concept is absolute, but unfortunately there's some of the elders that are, they kind of frown upon it, but it's understandable. I mean,
I was only joking. and all that. I know that would never be acceptable. I just you were talking about these portable sweats. I'm like, yeah, kind of like the pull behind barbecue pits.
Well,
You-
this is
they
the
combination sweat lodges and barbecue things. Everybody's done with a sweat, and like, did you have a good sweat? Did you purify? Yes. All right, you time. Roll out the keg, throw a pig on the pit. What do you think, man?
I'd probably be against the keg thing, but yeah, but we do have feast after the sweat lodges is usually a common practice, but my biggest thing is, the more opportunity for people to experience these rituals and ceremonies of the Native Americans, I'd rather have somebody understanding me than not, because that's one of the biggest challenge, that we have is the fear of not understanding. And in that understanding, we have that fear of looking ignorant because, a lot of us are really uncomfortable with being ignorant about something. And it's not a big deal. I'm super ignorant.
Dude, that is such a skill. Now, I want to tell everybody, and I hope there's young people listening tonight, that is a life skill. Let me tell you about a valuable life skill that you can learn is to admit you don't know something. I remember I've said this years and years and years ago, and I actually remember kind of like the process of my own mind too. And once someone realizes that they don't know everything, they have finally learned something. They actually do know something. And to be able to humbly look at someone, fully with an open mind, with no embarrassment, and say, wow, I don't understand that. Or what word did you use? I've never heard that before. Can you tell me what that means? Or no, I've never heard of that concept. Can you teach it to me? To be open like that and to be honest like that is a life skill. And the younger you are when you learn that, the better off you will be, and the more you will learn as you go through this life. Just wanted to add that in.
Well, when I suggested about people grabbing a piece of paper, one thing that I'm going to throw out there is some of my favorite cliches. And this is a great opportunity for one of them. And I apologize if I remember who the author is of it. I'll definitely give them those props, but a lot of them I can't recall the authors. But this cliche is, it is better someone think you a fool than to open your mouth and prove them right. And this goes along with the whole thing of ignorance.
I actually think that's in the Bible. I think that's in the book of Proverbs. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm going to search for it. But I actually think that is from the book of Proverbs. And a proverb, the word proverb means a wise saying. Let me see if I can find that. Go ahead.
Well, it's just the whole thing of adding to the ignorance. Because, in the Anishinaabe tradition, when we greet somebody, we say the word bonjour. And it's in a reference to the great teachers, Waynaboozhoo or Nanaboozhoo. And the teaching is that everybody has something to teach you, whether or not you are having the ability to learn from somebody else, and this goes with ego and the whole ignorance of it. But then when you say to somebody bonjour, in a reference, you're saying, are you Waynaboozhoo, Nanaboozhoo here to teach me? And then when you become more comfortable with the person and you're closer, then you say Anin, which is just the basic hello. But everybody has something to teach you. And I would not think that a God would give one person all of the answers, because that would definitely give one person the ability to control everybody. And so I think that all of the answers would be divided amongst all of us. And then when we go beyond our egos and we admit our humbleness and our ignorance, then we can learn from each other. And hopefully in that, process of learning, we can come to a conclusion, what is the best path or course or direction for us to take together.
Very true. I found it. It's Proverbs 17:28 for all the Bible nerds out there. And in the King James Bible, it says, even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, or his tongue, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed as a man of understanding. So, yeah. And there's different things. The New Living Translation says, even fools are thought wise when they keep silent. With their mouths shut, they seem intelligent. So I knew there was a reference to that in the book of Proverbs. Anyway, you were talking about we all learn from each other. The analogy I got from that, as you're speaking that, NeSe, I saw as all like a book. All of us, like this entire, I talk about life school. Let's say that the course book is the study manual, our life. And just like a book, like you were saying, nobody has all the answers. And it's the same as a book. Let's say there's a book of knowledge, this book of life that we learn from, that we gain wisdom from. And if you open a book up, the first chapter doesn't have all the answers. Neither does the second chapter or even a paragraph or whatever. But it's all put together, and we all must add in like a word or a paragraph where we all have our part in this book of life. And when we are silent when we need to be, so others can add their part, and then we speak when we need to be and speak up when it's called for, it all comes together like a tapestry, like a book. And if we're attentive to this and we're quiet enough to allow others to speak so we can learn from them, but sensitive enough and wise enough to know when to speak ourselves, then it all comes together, and we all kind of like sitting around a fire say, aha, now we understand the story, because we're not going to understand the story until it's all spoken, until it's all read, and it takes all of us. Nobody has a whole story, just like no page in any book has the entire book, but all together makes sense.
Yeah, and I also agree with that, and I've made the joke before about how, when they make the comment about being on the same page, and with what's going on in today's society and with the powers that should not be and their continuous drive of dividing us on every little minuscule thing that they can divide us with, I would be happy if we could get in the same library, or possibly in the same section, or on the same shelf. But to get on the same page in today's society, this is a task that not only can we not overcome, but critically need to address.
Oh, it's being addressed right now, brother, and we can't overcome it. And that's the thing. The problem with all of this is we have had a concerted effort from like you say, the powers that should not be, who gain control of major media outlets, and they have used this to stop the spread of truth and to foment division and fear and control of the people. This is being addressed. Like I was saying, these archonic powers, we're in an energetic right now, brother, where this stuff is changing, and it's going to come to light, and it is going to stop. I mean, it has gotten to such a point. Martin Armstrong, I've talked about him on this program before. He's a brilliant Armstrong economics. He was a brilliant mathematician and computer expert from Princeton University who got locked up. It's a story in itself. He was actually arrested by the Bush administration, and the Obama administration kept him in jail for like 2 years because he wouldn't give up the codes that they had cracked in his laboratory in Princeton University that was determining the outcome of major financial things in the world. And he knew that the government of the United States wanted to use it for nefarious purposes, and he wouldn't give it to him. Anyway, he's a economic genius, and he is called all around the world to speak to nations. They ask him for advice. And I actually heard a thing that he did just a few days ago, an interview, and I've heard a lot of things that Martin Armstrong has said, and he was talking about, because he had to flee the United States. He said, the problem in the world right now, he said, CNN is the number one U.S. news source outside of the United States. He said, no matter what airport you go to, what country you go to in Europe, in Asia, all over the world, all you can get is CNN. And that is the only view that the world has of the United States. He said CNN and their negative division and coverage of the world and this current president, he said, has almost destroyed the reputation of the United States in the world. He said, this is catastrophic. He said, these people, what they have done is criminal. He said, because they put out false stories overseas, he said, and they never retract them. And the people, they get entire populations all worked up. He said, and none of it's true. He said, this is criminal, what's happening. And this is he's a brilliant guy, from Princeton University. He said, this is bad, but it's going to stop. And they say, all of this stuff is going to come to an end here very soon.
Well, I absolutely enjoy hearing your positiveness and your geez, it makes me feel like I'm just negative Nelly here.
No, you're just, dude, you're observant of what the energies that are going on. We are awash in this. You're not negative. You're a very positive person. But I think what it is, possibly, you're not quite aware, and a lot of people aren't quite aware that things are changing. We are on a course right now, energetically marked by the stars, and this has been proven that this stuff's changing, man. I mean, it's been a long time coming. I mean, we're in some positions that haven't been this way. Some of the major ones for like 500 years, but some of the big, powerful ones that we're dealing with, 250 years. Like 250 years since the American Revolution time, and some really strong energetics for the past 30 years, and it's all coming to a head and joining, and that pendulum's about to swing, brother. And all this BS that we've dealt with, and this corruption that has just built up into this huge creature, a swamp of corruption, economically, politically, spiritually, it is at its end, and it's going to be screaming, baby. This stuff's coming down, and that's a reason why we should be positive, even though things have been hard, because it's about to come to an end. It really is, NeSe.
Well, and again, I agree with you, and I strongly suggest that as we're reflecting on these greater cycles of change, where the swamp is being drawn, or dropped or lowered or drained, what about your own personal swamp? Because in the end, these greater cycles aren't going to affect you as much as your cycle of where you are at this moment. Because have you had enough sugar today? Guilty as charged. Have you had enough coffee? Guilty as charged. Where are we within ourselves? Being honest to where we need to drain our own swamps so that we can be positive, so we can be the light and hopefully a beacon for others. And here's a change right now. Don't touch that.
Radio is your number.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Phoenix Rising Radio. Now is the time to lift your mind higher. Now is the time to rise above. I am your host, Phoenix, and welcome to tonight's broadcast.
Oh yeah, now is the time to lift your mind higher. Now is the time to rise above. Now is the time. You have a challenge. I have a challenge. We all have a challenge. And that is to be better, be the best that we can be, to rise above situations. You know, I was talking earlier. I said, man, what a difficult 2.5, 3 years I've had. It's like, but it's a cyclical thing. I understand it. I understand why this has happened because it's part of life school, and I understand it from the astrology that I've learned and the spiritual teachings that I have learned and lessons that we have to learn. So I understand why this is, and I make the best of it. You know, things happen to us, and how do we react to those things? Do we learn from those things? Do we become bitter? Sometimes we do momentarily, but we have to rise above that. We have to rise above it and be the best that we can be in every situation. And now is that time. You know, I was telling NeSe before the break, things are changing, and it is up to all of us collectively to do something. You know, I heard something today that was pretty amazing. Are you familiar with 4chan and 8chan and Reddit and all that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, you know, this whole
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
I do that.
Yes, I have. I have heard about that.
Yes, I do. I understand all of that. Yeah.
See, I'm ignorant.
No, you're not. I was playing with you there. But anyway, dude, I heard this cool thing, and it was a guy. He was doing, YouTube thing, and he had what's called the bread makers from the 4chan and 8chan, the group that's been putting together and sifting through all this QAnon stuff, and we basically had something interesting happen because 4chan, 8chan, Reddit, these guys used to be in opposition with one another. They're all, you know, just like, you know, this is 4chan, this is 8chan, and this is Reddit, and they troll each other, and they had an aversion to one another because, you know, our geekiness is better than your geekiness kind of thing, I guess. But anyway, but through all of this, they've all come together. So you actually have some of the main people and moderators of 8chan, 4chan, and Reddit all working together now. And that's exactly what the powers that shouldn't be. They don't want that. But here's the amazing thing, dude. All of these people were together, and they were analyzing all the QAnon stuff. These are the what they call the bread makers, the bread bakers, whatever, of all these threads. And the primary guy who was doing the feed, I think he's called Anti-School, is the name of the guy, his channel. He said, does everybody mind if we pray right now? And everybody's like, oh, okay, because he likes to do this. And he prayed. He just stopped and he prayed. And he prayed in the name of Jesus, and everybody they're like, thank you for this. And, you know, like all these mods from 8chan, 4chan, and Reddit and all this. And, you know, they started talking about it. And he said, you know, people listen to this, and some of you, he goes, maybe you don't even believe in God. You know, maybe you're not Christian, and, you know, this isn't your thing. Maybe you have never prayed. He said, but the power of human beings coming together in unity, which is what collective prayer is, changes things. The energetic of human beings coming together. And one of them made a point. He said, dude, he goes, that's so important. He said, because people listening to this, even if you don't believe in God, you've never gone to church, you don't, you're not into that at all. He said, you've got to realize that these people, that this cabal, this evil cabal that almost took over the world. I mean, they're going to be defeated. They believe in Satan. These people sacrifice children. These people drink blood of the innocents. They do horrific things because they actually believe they receive power from Satan, and they do these ritualistic things. And it's been proven. It's known. I mean, look at Bohemian Grove with the owl and the fire. These people believe in that. He said, and to counter that, we have to, collectively come together as an opposing force to counter it, and we can. And it's so important for everybody, people listening to us right now. I don't care, what your faith is or your lack of faith is. I don't care. We collectively, as group who want to change things, have to learn to pray individually, collectively, to change things.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
As you talk about this, where the individual has the energies or the abilities to manipulate the energies, the ether, we all have this gift. And I think it's unfortunate that from a child, we have been conditioned to forget how much power we have. And forgive me for my ego, but when we come back from the next break, I'm gonna show you all a miracle. That's my proclamation right here. That just to show you all the power that we have. When we come back, when I bring us back, I'm gonna throw it out there. Is that okay with you, Phoenix?
That is 100% okay with me, because I'm a bull. I write about miracles. I talk about miracles. We're all miracles, man. If you can hear my voice right now, you are a miracle, because the fact that all the process that's happening, that you can hear me, you can hear NeSe, you can listen in on all of this. If you are hearing me right now, you're experiencing a miracle. And therefore, if you can experience the miracle of listening and hearing these words and understanding them, then you are awash in miracle power, and you can claim that miracle power because it's falling upon your ears and say, hey, that's miracle. I'm part of miracle, and you can do miracles.
Well, even as we discuss the God aspect, and then we get so wrapped up in the semantics of, how should we label this God entity or this God power or energy, but if God is this ultimate whatever, then it's of the positive, it's of the negative, and we have the opportunity to denote where that resides within ourselves. It's like the fable of the two wolves of positiveness and one of negative. Which one rules the one that you feed? So we have that ability, we have that choice to be, okay, this is my point of zero. This is my starting point. This is the beginning of the cycle. This is the mark on the cycle. Whether that is January 1st, 2018 on your circle, you do a little tick right there and it comes around again for the next year. We make these plans, and here's the next cliche, absolute favorite cliche of all. We never plan to fail. We only fail to plan. And it's so critical, because even from that seed you put into the ground and you pour the water on and it starts to grow, in that seed is a plan for what it's supposed to do to become that plant. Now, the conditions beyond that, whether or not the soil is good or nutritional, or there's rocks or debris, or not enough sunlight or not enough rain, those are all part of the whole plan, which will affect the basic plan. But even within ourselves, from the spermazoa and the egg and the incredible occurrence of them melding together, that plan is established. And this is the within all of us. And so when we can recognize that plan and we can look at the synchronicities that help us grow, life is so much, I don't want to say easier, because life isn't easy. Life, I would say it'd be better to say life is hard. The dying part is the easy,
Well,
but
how about this? How about change those words? Don't say life is hard, because, well, that denotes the hard aspect of it. And how about saying life is a challenge? Because challenges can be overcome. Something hard is hard. It's establishing it is hard. But to say life is a challenge is something that can be overcome. Challenge is something that you can be victorious over. How about that?
oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And that makes me think of another cliche that I heard from Horst Rechelbacher, who was the creator of Aveda and the Aveda Institute and a hairstylist. And his cliche was replace the word problem with the word challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, challenge. And yeah, I agree with that. That fits right in. A challenge.
Well, it goes with that whole, the negative connotation, like the word hard. We're like, oh, that's hard, and then instantly we get into that fear or negativity of facing the hardness, So it's back to the dichotomy or the Holy Trinity that life is hard and life is easy, and sometimes life is just what it was.
Yeah, we have to look at all this from our aspect. Again, definition of who you are and how you see things. It's how we perceive things. We talk about the glass half full, half empty type attitude. Everybody's very familiar with that, and man, that is so important. It's something so simple, but it is something so true. How do you see this? How is it? And I've tried to, do this all my life, and I've talked about this before about simple things, how we verbalize things, words of our mouth, because man, our words, baby, are they're like a bell. You ring a bell, you can't unring it. The energetic that comes from what we say is so powerful. We don't even realize how powerful it is, but it's so powerful. Just the casual things we say, and the energetics that come off of us. I talk about. I told a story the other day about I was at the post office. It was raining. It was a rainy day, and I walked in, and the post lady had my raincoat and everything. She's like, "Oh gosh, what a horrible day." I'm like, I like this day. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I love the rain." I said, "I think rain's great. I call it liquid sunshine." And she laughed, and I said, the wonderful thing about cold, rainy days. And she looked at me, she goes, "No, what?" I said, "The thing about cold, rainy days, if we didn't have these, we wouldn't even enjoy the warm, sunny ones." And she's like, stopped. And she's like, "Wow." She goes, "I guess that's true." I'm like, "It's very true." I said, "So I love this day." And she laughed. And she goes, "Thank you very much for that." But, it's true, man. It's how we look at things, and people are programmed because they heard their parents say it. Their dad would get up, "Oh, it's a horrible day. It's raining, blah, blah, blah." Or their mother like, "Oh, it's not sunny. Oh, it's horrible. I wish it was sunny." People get programmed into this stuff with their friends. Break away from that. This is part about rising above. Cut away from the pack, man. If the pack is saying it sucks because it's rainy, say, "No, I don't think so. I'm not going to listen to you telling me something's bad." Objectively look at it. I mean, really, go out. I like the rain. I think it's great. It waters the plants. It feels cool on my face. It washes things off. It makes it interesting. I love it. I love a rainy day. I love a snowy day. I love a cold day. I love a hot day. And when I know that's just the weather, but we can expand this into other things. And this is the whole part about rising above and breaking away and igniting that flame of who you are. Let you define who you are. Don't let other people tell you, oh, today sucks, and go along with the pack like a bunch of lemmings. Oh, today sucks. Today sucks. And you all go off the cliff of the today sucks. Yeah, go for it. I mean, that's what people do. Don't do that. Break away from it. Stand up and say, you know what? I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be a happy person. I'm going to see the good in all things to the best of my ability with objectivity and honesty.
Well, it seems the biggest challenge with that is in the dichotomy of things. When you're going to say, this day sucks, it doesn't sound any better in the dichotomy of saying, this day blows. So you're kind of losing on both ends there. So I'd stay away from that word altogether. Yeah. Unless, of course, you have a straw or you have a vacuum cleaner or
just be
such things.
Be positive how you look at things, how you observe things. Don't let other people define your life. Don't let other people define and tell you how things are. You know, find your pleasure in all things and try to be objective and honest in all things and see the positive in things. And I think that's how we turn things around. You know, if it's whatever the situation, something you may hear, something you may see, you experience, you know, use your own intellect to analyze it yourself. Don't let other people tell you how you should think. Don't let other people tell you how you should feel. Because, man, it's almost like a programming thing, man, where, you know, and you see it, you know, you go out into public on a rainy day and just even calling a day dreary. Oh, it's a dreary day. You know, that puts a label on that day and changes the whole dynamic of how people interact with one another and how they perceive things, because they go from like, oh yes, they accept that and oh, it is a dreary day, and the next thing they know, they're reading dreary emails, and oh no, here comes the dreary mail, and what's for dinner? Oh, another dreary dinner. I mean, this is stuff gross. You know, it runs like a wildfire. So we really have to be conscious of how we perceive things and how we verbalize things. And you can change it. You know what? You can be the person in the pack that said, no, that's not the way it is. Be the warrior. Be the brave one who stands up, not the one who's running away. Oh no, we're overpowered. We have to run away from this situation. Be the brave one. Say, oh no. You be the warrior. Stand up and say, no, we don't have to run from this. This is just water falling from the sky, and it's actually a good thing. It's kind of fun to be in. You know, take control of it. And even if everybody runs away, you stand strong.
But the one thing where I have been having a challenge with myself is I have not been liking that word warrior, because I cannot stand the idea of war. And so and it's like I'm trying to replace that word warrior with defender, you know, because I rather come from there, you know, but the warrior, and to me, and this is my challenge that I'm having, and this goes out to everybody, you know, we all have our own challenges, and it may not be the same challenge as somebody else, and it may not be that important to anyone else but you, but it's okay to have your hang-ups or your irritations and stuff, but when your irritations start negatively affecting other people's, then you maybe should take a check on it. But yeah, that word warrior has just kind of been ruffling my feathers lately, because I believe, and here's a cliche of mine, the only enemies we have are the ones that we create.
Exactly. And whenever I say warrior, it isn't a warrior is a defender. A warrior is a fighter. And the reason I use that term and say warrior is because we as individuals sometimes have to stand up within ourselves and fight that negative attitude. We have to battle it. We have to say no. You have to be strong. And so when I say warrior, you can call it a defender. And see what you're talking about there is an excellent example. I mean, like I say warrior and that ruffles your feathers. You have a problem with that. You define within your heart, Phoenix says, I'm a warrior. NeSe says, no, I'm a defender. But that's a personal definition that NeSe puts in his heart, and he holds that. And I put warrior in my heart, and I hold that. But they both mean the same thing, because a warrior defends. A warrior holds the space. A warrior does not allow defeat. He defends. It's the same as a defender. A defender holds a space. A defender will defend against evil. A defender will not allow victory to come to forces that are trying to overcome him because he's defending. So it's a way that we're looking at it, and we all look at things differently. And what NeSe is saying is exactly what I'm saying, that within your heart you have to know who you are. He knows himself. He's a defender. I know myself. I'm a warrior. The question that me and NeSe are asking you is, who are you? What's in your heart?
Well, and it's also back to the point of, before you let your feathers get too ruffled, to make sure that you have conversation to where you can make sure that each side gets to denote their definition of the word where the challenge is. Because a lot of times, Dick Gregory says, your child doesn't understand what you mean. Your child understands what you say. And a lot of times when you get into a conversation, and I notice this a lot, and because of being blind, I need to take people at their word, because I don't get those full nuances of a conversation with body language and facial expressions and that. And so when I ask somebody about what they just said, this response I get is, oh, I didn't mean that. And then I would repeat the words that they said, and then it would be like, oh, well, this is what I mean. And so this goes back to making sure that you're on the same page or on the same book, because that ego or our own dictionary can get us in trouble.
Yeah. What you just described, it's not something that's because of the way we are technologically now. That was something that people like you who are visually impaired, blind, have to deal with and experience that people don't understand. But I tell you what, that's a common occurrence now in the technological society, because people send text messages. People are kind of learning it now, but in the beginning, people would send text messages, and there's no way that people can determine exactly the true meaning of that. And so a lot of people would send text in jest or saying things, because they thought it was funny and laugh, but there's no facial expression. There's no inference to, exactly what it is. And so, yeah, that's a phenomena that all techno geeks, people who experience texting, which is like everyone now, have experienced at one time or another.
Oh, absolutely. And it goes back into that whole challenges of the definition. And there's nothing to me that's more exciting than problem resolution, to resolve those problems, to resolve those challenges, especially, or conflict resolution, some people call it, but to have that ability, that is where I believe we denote the absolute entity of a humane being, is where we can take that humility that I might not have the same understanding as this other entity, so let's make sure that we're on the same page. But the list that I was talking about, grabbing a pen and a pencil, if I may suggest that people get 3 marbles: a clear marble, a white marble, and the black marble. And starting off from the beginning, that you just decide to take 1 marble at a time. 1 marble, when you denote what it is, say, oh,
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
There's something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Chi Miigwech, thank you for being the miracles you are. And if you can, indulge me and be part of this miracle right now. All it takes is 1 huge breath on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Exhale. Right then, when that occurred, your lungs took in oxygen and then took an oxygen molecule and attached it in your heart to a red blood cell, where it went down your artery faster than you can even imagine, down to the capillary, to where it went through a micro little gap that only 1 cell can get through, and it released that oxygen molecule. And then it flipped 180 degrees, and that red blood cell went up your vein and back to your heart, where it again grabbed an oxygen molecule and flipped 180 degrees and went down your artery to another capillary, released the oxygen, flipped 180 degrees. So you are the miracle, as Phoenix said earlier. And if we would take more time or more moments or be in the moment to realize this miracle is occurring every breath we take, every beat of our heart, then maybe we can start not only treating ourselves as the miracles we are, or start treating others as the miracles they are.
Very good, Bob Gilpatrick. NeSe. You sound like Bob with all the medical stuff. It is a miracle, though. It's fantastic. That's great. I love that. The beautiful thing about that, what you just shared with us, and I took in a deep breath and exhaled whenever you said that. That miracle of breathing in, that miracle is also replicated as you breathe out. And what happens when you speak words, you breathe out. So can you imagine not only the miracle of your breath and this energetic that's coming from your heart, because literally whenever you are speaking, it's coming from your heart and your mind and your soul, that fire, that spark of who you are within you. So when you speak forth words, you are releasing miracle power into the universe, into your world, into your being. So the whole show tonight, we're talking about the end of the year. We've come up on the end of the year, we're coming up with some big changes. Things are going to change. We need this big energetic push from everybody. And it's the small stuff that matters. It really, really is, man. It's just the small things. Many hands make for easy labor. So if all of us, all of our listeners, everybody, and you can share this with other people, it's easy. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not easy, but it can be easy, to be a positive light in someone's life. If you know people in your family that are negative, be positive, be forgiving, be the one who has a positive outlook, and it will change that dynamic. Just like NeSe was telling us this miracle about when we breathe in, all these connections that happen, it happens in our life, in the universe around you. The smile that you give to someone, the patience that you give to someone, a kind word, a helping hand, or just a good vibe. Just a good vibe. I'm telling you, if you have joy in your heart, peace in your heart, and positive attitude in your heart, people feel it, man. People can pick up on it. Some people are more sensitive to it than others, but people get it. It's like if you smile in a place and it's genuine, you can see the light click on in people's eyes. Click, 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 click. And then they smile and it clicks with somebody else, man. It's a spreading thing. This sword cuts both ways of energetics, the negative and the positive. So that's why it's so important to be positive. But again, like we were talking at the beginning of this program, how do we deal with this? How do we go into all this? And again, it starts at your heart by defining who you are and what you're going to be. And don't let anybody else, don't let the world, don't let the media, don't let anyone tell you that things aren't good. Don't let anyone tell you that it can't be good, that things are going to be bad. Say no to that. I'm like, no, they're going to be good. And overcome this, and we can collectively do this. The more people who have positive attitudes and faith that things will change, not only in our world, but at a personal level, that your economic situation will get better, your health situation will get better, your social situation will get better, that everything will get better. Look for it to happen. Just look for it and define who you are, how you will be, and how things will be. And if we can all do this, starting in our hearts and radiating it out collectively, we really can change the world.
Absolutely. And as I was discussing before the break, with some of the suggestions of getting through the challenges that are placed before us, I suggested that you get yourself 3 spheres or 3 marbles, a clear one, a white one, and a black one. And put this in a spot, in a little bowl, in a little cup, on your dresser, on your nightstand, and grab one. And when you grab the clear sphere, that is the idea or the thought of being transparent or content. If you grab the white sphere, then whatever you donate it to be, positive or negative, then that is what it is. And then the same with the black sphere. And so as you do your travels through the dimensions, when you have a day of one dimension, you take one of the spheres, put it in your pocket, and you reflect on that. When you're at a point of making a challenge, you look at your sphere that you select that day, and you utilize that for your challenge. But then as you get into the 2-dimension, then you bring either the white sphere or the black sphere, and as you denotate your day of which is positive or which is negative or which is yes or which is no, then you have those in your pocket. And then when you have a decision or a challenge to make, you reach in your pocket, you pull out the white sphere, and you go with it. But then when you get into the 3 dimensions, you add your black sphere, your white sphere, and your transparent sphere. And your transparent sphere would denotate no decision. Make that decision tomorrow. And these are just simple little tricks that can help you go beyond the cycles or the challenges we get caught up. Because as I've stated before, the easiest way to disrupt a cycle is to add another cycle to it. And that cycle could be, when can I get my next coffee? When can I have my next meal break? When can I have my next cigarette, sugar? Whatever we put it into that cycle being the next episode of our favorite series, And it's just a little tool, and some people call it divination, but it's trying to tap into that ether or the field of the universe.
Yeah, that's cool tip. That is a way to do it. That's interesting, and people can visualize it. And it is kind of divination. What that reminds me of, a lot of people may think like, oh, it's like divination. Yeah, that's divination. But I would like to remind people that the priest of the Holy Temple in Israel, they had something called the Urim and the Thummim. They wore a breastplate that had 9 stones on it, and within it was a container, and they actually would cast these stones, and it was a form of divination. They would make prayers. They would ask God what they should do, and they would cast these stones in a certain way, and it would divine form. So basically what you're just describing is a minor form and a portable form of what the high priest of Israel, as directed by Solomon, did. So if anyone out there has issue with what NeSe just said, I suggest you pick up a Christian Bible, flip through it, and you will find that this method was used in the Holy Temple.
Phoenix, you just rose the hair on the back of my neck and goosebumps, because the minute you started talking about that, I got full-on image of like myself with this chest plate and these little spheres, and it just like that was wow.
Well, dude, that is an ancient art. That is an ancient art that was actually utilized in the Holy Temple of Israel, and the Urim and the Thummim. People can look that up, and you can find about these 9 stones in the breastplate and what they meant. One on lapis lazuli, beautiful stone. Lapis lazuli is a beautiful, beautiful blue stone from, different places in the world, but the Egyptian lapis has a lot of gold flake in it. Not actual gold, but like a pyrite or something mixed with it. Very beautiful. But they had 9 different stones. They all had different meanings, and again, they was used for divination and protection. Those stones actually protected them also.
Well, this goes into the whole thing of how we are all the same. We are all of the same existence. We're all in this together. And if you look at the singularity field, we get into the whole electromagnetic, electricity, visual, audio, field modalities. And if we are all fields, we all resonate at a frequency. And so these stones of different material, of different compounds, they resonate at different frequencies too. And so how hard is it to really fathom, through the use of crystals and stones, that we are able to manipulate fields, and where we can resonate with these fields to help raise our vibratory frequency. And that can be easily done by meditating, reflecting on the breath, reflecting on the heartbeat, and doing a simple tone.
This is true. And the thing about it is the same things that are contained in the stones, in the crystals. We have these are part of us within our being. And the same way that a stone can resonate, I don't know if people are, a lot of people are going to recognize it's a crystal radio set. That's something very old. If you listening to me and you hear me say crystal radio set, do an internet search on that. And you'll see the early radio sets. I had one of these myself, never assembled it. Somebody gave it to me. The way that people used to listen to radio, it was a hobby thing, and kids did this. You would take a crystal, like a quartz crystal, and wrap wire around it a certain way, and there were different things you could do, and you could literally listen to radio and pick up radio in your home with this crystal and wires, no electricity. You didn't hook a battery to this thing. You didn't do anything. It's called a crystal radio set. And it would actually pick up radio waves, audible. And it had to do with the crystal. And the computer, you're listening to me right now over a device, either your handheld or your computer or whatever. What do you think's inside those computer chips? This is a silicone base. So why do they call it Silicon Valley? What is silicone? Silica. It's sand. It's stone. The rocks of the world contain these energies and these crystals. So yeah, this is real stuff. And if you think this is kind of woo-woo or like, oh yeah, really? Well, yeah, you're hearing my voice, aren't you? And you're looking at your computer or your handheld. Yeah, it's all because of rocks, crystals, and the vibrational powers and abilities within the rocks.
Absolutely. And with just what we're talking about with the crystals and manifesting from the ether radio frequencies to make them into the other form of audio form. That's like almost transmutation, And another thing that I highly suggest that somebody get is a simple cork board, like a simple 14 by 14 inch cork board.
You there, NeSe? NeSe, are you there? What? Did we lose him? NeSe, I cannot hear you. Can you hear me? He lost audio, apparently. Maybe he hit a button or something happened. I see he's still logged with the studio, but for some reason I cannot hear NeSe. NeSe, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What happened?
That I couldn't tell you.
The last we heard from you was a cork board, approximately 14 by 14.
Oh, okay. So yeah, basically the idea is you get yourself a simple cork board, and as you reflect through images on the internet or on your phone, that you print out a picture and you pin it up or you tape it up. And if you can't afford a cork board, select a place in your home, on a closet door or something where you could tape it on there. And so then you manifest these things that you want to bring into fruition. And this is part of the whole creative process. You think about it, you visualize it, and then you bring it into the third dimension. And that would be the second thing that I suggest as we come up with these new modalities of overcoming challenges. Because as I talked about before, we're here on this new calendar year, and we're coming up on those resolutions that we all make, and we all unfortunately sometimes break. But hold me accountable to the ones I proclaim, please.
Will do. Let me expand on that a little bit more. You're talking about the vision board, and you talked about visualizing things. In my book, 3 Keys to Heaven, the 3 keys that I lay out are these in this process: desire, passion, and faith, which is feeling. Number one, desire. The first key to heaven is you must define within your mind exactly what it is you desire. Not sorta, not kinda. Picture it. What do you want to be? What type of man or woman do you want to be? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? How do you want to live? Where do you want to live? Whatever it is that you're desiring, you must define it. So, desire. What is it you desire? It must be very clear. Then, passion is the second key. You must passionately want this, because we all desire things. I would like to have a sandwich. I would like to have this, but you must have a passion about this desire. Once you have clearly defined in your mind's eye exactly what it is you want and how you want it to be, you must truly desire it with a passion, the passionate desire. So desire and passion, two keys. It's like the first key, clear desire, click, you've turned that lock. The second key, passionately desire it, emotionally, click it. You must passionately want this. When passion doesn't go away, passion burns like a flame, and it consumes. It doesn't go away. Passion is a consuming fire. The third and the most important one is faith. And you must believe. But to believe it, you're believing something that you can't see. Faith is believing in something that is unseen. So you must feel it. And how do you feel that you've received something or you have something? You feel that you have it, and you have gratitude and joy. Emotionally, you must feel it. And that feeling is the catalyst, the flame that ignites that fuel. So desire, passion, and faith. Those are the three keys to heaven. I wrote a book about it called The Three Keys to Heaven. You can find it on Amazon. I'm probably going to rewrite it and update it in the future. But the three keys to heaven: desire, passion, and faith, or feeling. You've got to feel it in your bones. But to feel it in your bones, how you want things to be and how you desire things to change and to make this happen, you have to be you. Who are you? You have to define exactly who you are. You have to stand up and within yourself and say who you are and who you will be. It starts in your heart. Anyway, we're running out of time here. This is our last program of the year. We only got like 4 minutes till we're out of here. I hope this has been a help to people.
Well, the last one is a single page of notebook paper, and you divide it into two columns. And one column is your needs, and the other column is your wants. And to be brutally, brutally, brutally honest with yourself and making sure you put it in the proper column as you manifest what you are going to be, because it doesn't matter to me who you are. It matters to you who you are. And don't get so hung up on who you are. Worry about who you're going to become.
I agree. And who you are going to become is how you have to identify yourself as who you are. And that's key. See yourself as what you want to be, what you're going to become. And I think the bottom line of all of this is we're trying to point everybody in the right direction. We're coming into a powerful time. It's been a difficult time for a lot of us, a lot of our listeners, a lot of my friends. It's been hard. But you know what? It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And everyone has to be on their A game and rise above from whatever problem you've had to experience this new. You know, this is our last program. I want to tell everyone right now, Happy New Year's, because when we come back, it will be 2018. So you won't hear Phoenix Rising or myself or NeSe before the New Year's. So Happy New Year's to everyone, and to you too, NeSe. I'm sure I'll talk to you. But anyway, what would you like to leave us with? We have like 3 minutes.
First of all, I absolutely humbly want to say thank you, Phoenix, for giving me this opportunity this year to do what we've done. And I hope that I've made you proud and I've done a service for the audience. And a quick chat room hello, hi, everyone. And may you all find your inner embers and be able to fan and spark that fire within and illuminate yourself, because you are the spark and the light in my darkness. And I appreciate being here with you all, and I wouldn't change a single thing if it would let me be here again. So miigwech ape gish bimad de zi wei win.
Very cool. Yeah, it's been a blessing. Thank you. You know what I'm going to leave everybody with this year? This is one of my favorite quotes. And I will close the show with this and close this year out. And we're talking about being the best that we can be and everything we can be. And this is from the book Starship Troopers. I know they made it into a movie. It was by Robert Heinlein. It was a military science fiction. It was one of the dog-eared copies that we used to carry around in the military. We always had it. And this is my favorite quote. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, and die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. I used to have that hanging on my office wall. I just had to share that with you guys. That's it, brother. We're out of here. Happy New Year's to everybody. Find someone you love and tell them that you love them. That is it.
Toodles.
Toodles indeed. Toodles to everyone. We are gone for 2017. Good riddance to 2017. And may God bless us all in 2018. Good night, everyone.